Who are you?
What are you doing? No, it can't be!
Where do you think you're going?
I have to get out!
Get back here!
To understand this moment, we must go back.
Good morning, Miss Mirabel.
Good morning, engineer.
On a very wonderful day in Bello Global Company, Mirabel and Obi met. Tall, dark, handsome. Obi. He was an engineer in the company, known for his intelligence and quiet strength. He was not loud or boastful like some of the other men in the office. He carried himself with calm assurance. When he spoke in meetings, people listened. And Mirabel was in the administrative department. Their first interaction was ordinary. A simple greeting in the hallway. Good morning. Morning. Nothing more. Days later, they met again during a project discussion. They were assigned to collaborate on a task that required both administrative coordination and technical supervision.
Our projections are concerning. We need to reassess.
Agreed, the market shifts are impacting us.
We must adapt our strategy now.
The meeting was formal, focused strictly on work. But Mirabel noticed something about him. He listened attentively. He did not interrupt. He respected her opinions. It was small, but it mattered. Work discussions turned into occasional conversations after meetings. Conversations became longer. They discovered shared values, discipline, faith, ambition, and a deep respect for family. There was no rush. No dramatic declarations. Just consistency. Obi admired her intelligence and strength. Mirabel admired his patience and stability. He was deeply principled, raised with strong moral values. He believed in commitment. He believed in waiting. He believed in doing things the right way. Months passed. Their connection deepened gradually, like a river widening with time. Lunch breaks became their quiet moment of the day. They would sit across from each other, discussing not just projects but childhood memories, dreams, and fears. Mirabel found herself laughing more, smiling more. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to enjoy something without fear of losing it. Obi did not pressure her. He courted her respectfully. When he eventually told her he was serious about her, his words were direct. "I am not here to waste your time," he said one evening after work. "If we continue, it is because I see a future." She believed him. They fell deeply in love. It was the kind of love spoken about in novels and Korean movies. Pure, intentional, serious. There were no games between them. No jealousy, no manipulation. When disagreements arose, they talked through them calmly. When one was stressed, the other offered support. They prayed together, not as a performance, but sincerely. Sometimes in her apartment living room. Sometimes over the phone at night. They asked for guidance. They asked for wisdom. They asked for a future built on truth. They planned together. Financial plans. Career plans. Family plans. They spoke about how many children they wanted. They discussed where they would live. They imagined building a home filled with warmth and laughter. They dreamed together. Mirabel began to imagine a life not defined by struggle but by stability. Obi imagined a wife who would stand beside him, not behind him. They complemented each other naturally. Their love felt destined. There was a peace around them that reassured both of them that this was right. Friends noticed it. Colleagues admired it. Even strangers could sense the sincerity between them. When Obi finally proposed, it was simple but meaningful. No public display. No dramatic spectacle. Just a quiet evening, a steady voice, and a ring presented with intention. Mirabel said yes without hesitation. The decision did not feel rushed. It felt prepared. Families met. Mr. and Mrs. Bayo welcomed Obi warmly and praised their daughter. They were proud of the woman she had become. They admired Obi's composure and seriousness. He spoke respectfully to them, assuring them that he would honor their daughter. There was laughter during that first family gathering. Food was shared. Stories were exchanged. Mirabel's father spoke emotionally about how far she had come. Her mother held her hand often, her eyes filled with gratitude. Obi's family also approved. They valued Mirabel's intelligence and grace. They saw in her a woman capable of building a stable home. Everything seemed aligned. Preparations began. Venues were booked. Guest lists were drafted. Traditional rites were discussed. Tailors were contacted. Event planners were consulted. Mayable moved through the preparations with joy. Every fitting, every meeting, every detail felt like the beginning of a beautiful chapter. And as the wedding day approached, there was no shadow in her heart, only excitement. She was ready to become a wife, ready to begin forever.
But before the money, there was a struggling Mayable and Obi the orphan. Let's get to know them.
Mayable was not born into comfort. She was born into survival. She grew up in a modest neighborhood in Ibadan, where houses were packed tightly together and children learned responsibility earlier than they learned play. Her father was a leaf seller in the local market, waking before dawn each morning to arrange fresh green vegetables on a wooden table that had seen better days. Her mother supported the family in small ways, helping wherever she could, stretching every naira until it cried. Money was never enough. It was always not enough. There were days when dinner was a thin soup with more water than leaf and meat. Days when school fees became a family meeting. Days when electricity disappeared for weeks and kerosene lamps became their only source of light. But Mayable was not weak. From a young age, she carried herself with quiet determination. While other children complained about the heat or the long walks to school, Mayable walked with purpose. She understood something early in life. No one was coming to rescue her family. If anything would change, it would be because she changed it. She studied under lantern light. When kerosene finished, she revised her notes from memory. She borrowed textbooks. She copied entire chapters by hand because she could not afford her own copies. Her teachers noticed her seriousness. Some encouraged her. Others doubted that a girl from her background could go far. She ignored both praise and doubt. When she gained admission into the University of Lagos, it felt like the first crack in the wall of poverty surrounding her family. Her parents were proud, but pride did not pay tuition. The acceptance letter came with deadlines. Registration fees. Accommodation costs. The first year was the hardest. She shared a cramped hostel room with 3 other girls. The mattress she slept on was thin, almost insulting. She took small jobs, typing assignments for other students, helping seniors clean their rooms, selling recharge cards. Every little amount mattered. Obi, on the other hand, lost his parents in an accident when he was still very young, and Mr. Beloa, his father's friend, had pity, took him in and raised him like his father.
Okay, now, let's continue.
The wedding day finally came. The wedding in Lagos was beautiful. It was the kind of ceremony people talked about long after the music stopped. The hall shimmered with elegance. White roses lined the aisle in perfect symmetry. Golden candles flickered softly, casting a warm glow across smiling faces. The air carried the scent of fresh flowers and celebration. Cultural music filled the atmosphere. Drums echoed joyfully. Traditional dances moved with pride and rhythm. Friends and family gathered from across Nigeria, dressed in colorful asoebi fabrics that turned the event into a sea of coordinated beauty. It was vibrant, joyful, perfect. Mayable walked down the aisle slowly, her dress flowing behind her like a gentle cloud. Her face radiated happiness. Every struggle she had endured felt distant. Every tear she had once cried felt worth it. The little girl who studied under lantern light had become a bride admired by many. Obi stood waiting for her at the altar, dressed sharply, composed and handsome. His eyes rested on her as she approached. Guests whispered about how well they looked together. Strong, elegant, blessed. Vows were exchanged under a pink evening sky. Their voices were steady as they promised commitment, loyalty, and love. They spoke of patience. They spoke of partnership. They spoke of forever. It was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives. Applause erupted when they were pronounced husband and wife. Laughter followed. Music grew louder. Cameras flashed endlessly. Parents embraced them. Friends cheered them on. Mayable felt fulfilled. Everything had fallen into place. She had succeeded in her career. She had lifted her family out of hardship. And now she had married a man she deeply loved and respected. Obi smiled proudly beside her. He held her hand firmly during the reception. They danced together. They greeted guests together. They posed for pictures together. From the outside, they looked like a couple stepping into a beautiful future. Nothing appeared wrong. But at the end of the day, something shifted. It was subtle at first, almost invisible. After the guests had left and the decorations were being cleared, a strange quietness settled around Obi. His laughter reduced. His words shortened. His eyes, once warm and expressive, seemed preoccupied. Mabel noticed but ignored it. Weddings were exhausting. Emotions ran high. She convinced herself it was simply fatigue. Almost immediately after the wedding, the change became more noticeable. The first week, he seemed distant but polite. He responded to her conversations with brief answers. When she laughed, he smiled faintly, but the smile did not reach his eyes. Obi's smiles began to feel forced. When she tried to hold his hand longer than usual, he gently withdrew. When she leaned close, he shifted slightly. It was never dramatic, never aggressive, just small withdrawals that slowly built a wall between them. His eyes drifted away from Mirabel's beaming face. Weeks passed. Mabel sensed the distance. She observed the silence growing thicker each day. The playful conversations they once shared were gone. The late-night talks disappeared. Even their shared prayers became shorter. She hoped it was just post-wedding adjustment. Marriage was new territory. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe work stress had followed him home. Maybe he simply needed time. But nights became colder. They lay on the same bed, yet there was space between them that felt larger than the room itself. He would turn to his side early, claiming exhaustion. She would stare at the ceiling, wondering what she had done wrong. Mornings became lonelier. He left for work without the affectionate gestures he once showed. A simple good morning replaced the warmth she expected. He ate breakfast quietly. Sometimes he complimented the food, but even that felt mechanical. He ate her food. He slept in the same house. But he refused to touch her. 1 month passed. Mabel grew anxious. 2 months passed. Her anxiety turned into quiet fear. 3 months passed. The distance remained. She began to question herself. Had she changed? Was she no longer attractive to him? Had she unknowingly offended him? Every possibility ran through her mind. Eventually, she called her parents. She tried to sound calm, but her voice trembled as she explained that Obi had withdrawn. She did not mention intimacy directly, but her mother understood what she was implying. Her parents told her to endure and speak to her husband. Marriage requires patience, her father advised. Men sometimes go through phases. She tried. One evening, she approached him gently. Obi, is everything okay? You seem far away. He avoided her eyes.
Different recently.
I don't know,
What's
maybe
the
I
problem?
changed, he said
I
quietly.
don't know, maybe it's just
The answer
changed.
confused her more. Changed how? Why? From what? But he offered nothing further. She tried again days later. He responded with the same vagueness. No anger. No shouting. Just a cold uncertainty. Desperate for guidance, Mabel even reached out to Chief Balua, whom she had heard Obi respected like a father figure. She believed perhaps the older man could advise her husband. But she was told again, talk to your husband. No one offered clarity. The silence continued. In the house that once held promise, tension replaced excitement. Mabel moved around carefully, afraid to say the wrong thing. Obi remained distant, locked inside thoughts he refused to share. From the outside, they were a perfect couple. Inside, something was breaking quietly, and Mabel had no idea why. Frustration built in the house. It did not explode all at once. It gathered slowly, like storm clouds forming in silence before heavy rain. The air between them became thick, uncomfortable. Conversations were short and careful. Movements around each other were measured. Even the sound of cutlery against plates during dinner felt louder than usual. Mabel felt unwanted. She tried to maintain normalcy. She cooked his favorite meals. She dressed beautifully in the evenings. She initiated conversations about work, about family, about the future. Each effort was met with polite detachment. Obi never shouted at her. He never insulted her. He simply withdrew. And sometimes, silence hurts more than cruelty. Obi felt restless, though he said little. Something clearly tormented him. He spent longer hours outside. He returned home later than usual. When he sat in the living room, his thoughts seemed far away. His jaw tightened often, as if he was holding back words he did not want to release. The house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a waiting room. One evening, Obi drank heavily. He rarely drank beyond moderation, but that night was different. Whatever he carried inside him demanded drowning. Glass after glass disappeared. The bitterness of alcohol burned down his throat, but it did nothing to calm the fire in his chest. When he finally returned home, his steps were unsteady. Mabel was already crying when he entered. She had been holding her tears back for weeks, trying to appear strong, trying to be patient as everyone advised. But that night, something inside her gave way. She sat in the dimly lit living room, her eyes swollen, her heart heavy with confusion. The sound of the door opening startled her. She looked up and saw him standing there, his eyes red, his face hardened by anger and drink. She stood immediately and walked toward him. "Please tell me what is going on," she begged. Her voice broke as she spoke. It carried weeks of suppressed pain. He stared at her, not with love, not with confusion, but with disgust. The look pierced her deeply. Without responding, he brushed past her and walked into his room. His movements were rough, unsteady. She followed him anxiously, fear tightening her chest. He went straight to his bag. From inside, he brought out a picture of her in a red dress, and asked, "Who is this?" Her breath stopped. The image in the frame was clear. Fear made her to run away first before coming back to face reality. It was unmistakably her. It was the same bold red fabric that clung to her figure that night years ago. The same dress she had removed carefully after returning from that encounter. The same dress she later burned in secret because of how she felt whenever she looked at it. "Where did you get this picture?" she asked. Her voice trembled uncontrollably. Obi's expression twisted between anger and pain. "You know Chief Bolu were right." The name struck the air like thunder. "You mean Chief Bolu?" she asked, shaking. He stepped closer and raised the frame higher, forcing her to look at it clearly. His hands shook, not from weakness but from rage. "He gave it to me," Obi continued, his voice heavy with frustration and sadness. "After the wedding." The words echoed in her ears. After the wedding. Shock almost made her faint. Her legs weakened. Her vision blurred for a moment. The room seemed to spin as memories she had buried long ago forced their way back into her present. Chief had visited him. He had shown him the picture. He had said something. The realization hit her slowly and painfully. "Babe, I can explain," she said desperately. Her heart raced as she moved closer, reaching out slightly as though she could physically pull the anger out of him. "Keep the explanation to yourself," he snapped. His tone carried finality. There was no curiosity in his eyes. No patience. Only judgment. The frame dropped onto the bed carelessly as he staggered backward. The alcohol that fueled his courage now began to overpower him. His words became heavier, slower. He muttered something under his breath, but it was unclear. Within moments, the anger that had held him upright collapsed under intoxication. He fell onto the bed and slipped into a deep sleep. Just like that, leaving her standing there, alone with the picture, alone with the truth she had never intended to revisit. Mabel picked up the frame slowly, staring at the image that had now become a weapon against her marriage. She remembered that night clearly, the fear, the shame, the desperation. She remembered burning the dress days later, watching the flames consume the fabric as though it could erase the memory itself. But memories do not burn so easily. She sat on the floor beside the bed, her back against the wall, the picture resting in her lap. Tears streamed down her face silently at first, then heavily. Everything began to make sense. The distance, the coldness, the refusal to touch her. He believed she had betrayed him. He believed she had lied. The silence he had wrapped around her for 3 months was not confusion. It was punishment. Mabel cried throughout the night. She did not attempt to wake him. She knew the alcohol had taken him completely. Instead, she waited. Waited for morning. Waited for clarity. Waited for the chance to speak fully. Each hour felt longer than the last. The ticking clock sounded louder in the stillness. Occasionally, she looked at him sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm inside her heart. She rehearsed her explanation repeatedly in her mind. How would she begin? Would he believe her? By the time the first light of dawn crept into the room, her eyes were swollen, her body weak from crying. But her decision was firm. When he woke up, she would tell him everything. No matter how painful. No matter how humiliating. Morning was coming. And with it, the truth she had buried for years. Morning came. The light that entered the room felt harsh and unforgiving. It exposed everything. The swollen redness of Mirabel's eyes, the picture frame still resting on the table, and the silent tension waiting to erupt. Obi stirred from sleep slowly. The weight of the previous night had not left his face. When his eyes opened fully and landed on her, the anger returned instantly, as though it had only been paused. Mabel did not wait. She moved toward him and knelt before him. Please, I can explain. Her voice was hoarse from crying. Her hands trembled where they rested on her lap. She looked small in that moment, nothing like the confident woman the world admired. Obi sat up abruptly. His anger exploded. Do you know the most annoying and painful thing? He began, his voice shaking with fury. You are a prostitute. You told me that you are a virgin. You even slept with Chief. How shameless can you be? The words hit her like a slap. He stood up from the bed, pacing the room, unable to contain himself. He explained. After the wedding, Chief Balua visited him. He said he could not attend the ceremony because he traveled, but he wanted to congratulate the newlyweds personally. Obi welcomed him respectfully, believing he was honoring an elder who had influence and status. But the visit did not go as expected. Obi's voice hardened as he continued. Chief had looked at Mabel during that visit. He had stared longer than necessary. Then he had sighed heavily, almost emotionally. He told Obi that years ago, Mabel used to be his sexual relief. He said it casually, as though discussing a forgotten business deal. Obi had thought it was a joke. Until Chief brought out the picture. The same red dress. The same confident pose. And he gave Obi the picture as evidence of his claims. Obi stopped pacing and turned toward her. His eyes were filled with hurt more than rage now. He looked directly into her face. Tell me it's not true, he demanded. Have you been a prostitute before? Did you have sex with Chief? The questions struck her like blades. Her breath caught painfully in her chest. Shame and fear collided within her. She felt exposed, stripped of every layer she had carefully built over the years. She fell to the ground. It happened long ago in university, just one day. Chief was my first. Obi shut her up immediately. You lied to me that you were a virgin, he shouted. I waited till marriage. I respected you. I believed you. The betrayal in his voice was raw. She cried harder. Tears streamed uncontrollably as she reached for him, but he stepped back. Trust me, I am still a virgin, she sobbed. We didn't do anything. He just doesn't know. Obi stared at her in disbelief. Do you expect me to believe this? He shouted. Do you think I am stupid? Or Chief is lying for fun? His chest rose heavily with each breath. Everything he valued, discipline, purity, honesty, felt shattered. Mabel forced herself to speak clearly despite the tears. Please let me finish, she said desperately. Let me tell you everything. For a moment, he said nothing. His silence allowed her to continue. She took a deep breath. Back in university, when her mother was critically ill, she needed money urgently. 200,000 naira stood between life and death. She had no one to turn to. She had exhausted every option. Chief appeared during that desperate period. He offered 3 million naira if she would spend the night with him. Her voice trembled as she continued. I only needed 200,000, she said. But I had nothing. Nothing at all. She explained how her friend Anna was already involved in hookups and suggested a plan. They believed they could take advantage of Chief's drunken state. They decided to deceive him. They visited Chief together that night. They made him drink heavily. When he became tipsy, Anna went into the bedroom with him. She asked for 2 million from Chief's money and that was fair enough for me. She was the one who slept with him, Abel said firmly. Not me. After Anna finished, she left quietly. Then Abel entered the room. Chief was intoxicated and half asleep. In the darkness, he assumed it was Abel who had been with him all along. I climbed onto the bed, she admitted, her voice breaking. But nothing happened. I didn't let anything happen. She explained that Chief, in his drunken state, believed he had been with her. He transferred the money as promised. She used it to pay the hospital bills. Her mother survived. I burned the dress afterward, she continued. I hated it. I hated that night. I hated myself for even being there. Obi listened without interrupting, but his face remained rigid. I never told you because I was ashamed, she added. I didn't want that part of my life to follow me into our marriage. She wiped her tears. I am still a virgin, she insisted again. We can go to the hospital and confirm it. Nothing has ever happened. The room fell silent. Obi struggled internally. Her story sounded desperate but detailed. Yet the image in his mind, the picture, Chief's words, clashed violently with her explanation. He remembered Chief's confidence when he handed over the picture he took that night because she was too beautiful. He remembered the way the older man spoke as if he owned a secret. You expect me to believe that he never knew? Obi asked quietly, though the anger still lingered beneath his tone. Yes, she replied immediately. He never knew. He thought it was me. But it wasn't. Her body shook as she waited for his response. The truth now stood fully exposed between them. Painful, complicated, humiliating. Obi looked at her for a long time. Not speaking. Not moving. Trying to decide whether the woman he loved was lying again, or finally telling the truth. But doubt still lingered.
Congratulations, sir. Your wife is still a virgin.
They went to the hospital. They asked for confirmation. Medical evidence proved she was still untouched. She had kept her vow of purity. She had survived without compromising herself. It was true. Obi did not speak immediately. He needed time to absorb what he had just heard. The realization struck him slowly. The woman he accused, the woman he had judged, had actually been loyal to her values even in the most impossible circumstances. She had acted out of necessity, not choice. Then they went to Chief's house. Chief Balua admitted the first part of the story, that he believed he had been with Abel, that he had given her the money. But he confirmed he had never known it was Anna. His confession cleared the final layer of doubt. Abel had not betrayed Obi. She had only survived. Silence followed. It was a heavy, reflective silence. The weight of accusations, explanations, shame, and truth hung between them. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, as they left Chief's house and walked together, Obi reached for her hand. He held it tightly, firmly, reassuringly. The gesture spoke more than words could. I'm sorry, he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of regret and relief. I shouldn't have doubted you. I shouldn't have let silence destroy what we have. Abel squeezed his hand in return, tears rolling down her cheeks. I understand, she whispered. I've waited for this moment to explain, to be understood. We survived it. That night, back at home, Obi finally embraced his wife fully. There was no hesitation, no restraint, no lingering doubts. He held her as if he would never let her go. And she let him. The warmth of the embrace bridged the months of coldness, of distance, of miscommunication. It was a beginning, a renewal, a restoration of what love had always promised. Sometimes silence destroys what love built, and sometimes the truth must fight its way into the light. If you enjoyed this story and felt every twist and turn, don't forget to like and share it with someone who loves suspense and real-life drama. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Obi's shoes? We want to hear your thoughts.